I love that answer in the sense that that's why I'm asking you these questions because, of course, political or politics, the root word is to be polite. You say whatever it is that you need to say in order to get elected. So that's the smoke screen. That's the not real part. But the reality is these people are supposedly politicians who are going to be polite, but they are supposedly the next ruler of this country, which has very real problems. So no matter how polite or, you know what I mean, or smoke screenish they try and be, what it basically boils down to is how are they going to affect the reality of what we see every day in America. And so that's why I'm getting at you with these particular questions, because I know you're going to keep it real. And that's what the Final Call News Hour is about, keeping it real. Alternative views. We don't want that same old political BS that we get on Hannity and Combs and all them other whack cable news channels. You know what I mean? We want to talk about real substantive issues. Now, one of the things that brother points out in this article is that financial analysts are predicting an economic recession, when in fact, according to a recent Ipsos AP poll, 61% of the population already thinks the U.S. economy is in a recession. Is America in an economic recession?
You know, it's kind of funny because it's like when the Depression happened in the 30s.
Right.
I remember, you know, conversations that I've had with elders about their experience of the Depression. They barely noted it because that was their life anyway. You know, they were already operating from a deficit.
Right.
And so the Depression was barely a murmur in their lives.
Right.
You know, it was the people who were familiar with privilege who felt the blows of the Depression. Poor folk, and I'm not suggesting that they didn't feel it, but what I'm saying is we are well versed in that.
Right.
We are well versed in not having. We are well versed in scraping by, and so again, that's just another one of those conversations where I suppose it depends on, you know, your reality.
Right.
You know, my reality suggests that we've been in a depression for a while. My reality suggests that we've been in a recession for a while. My reality suggests we've been in crisis for a while, in turmoil for a while. But the people who benefit from that crisis, who benefit from that turmoil, would not see it that way. And so it's an interesting conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to say we've been in a recession for quite some time. I mean, and, you know, like you're saying, all you got to do is look at the black community as an indicator as to where we are economically as a country. And, you know, since we make disproportionately a lot less money than our white counterparts, you know, black people are always in a recession or a depression, you know. But, yeah, this country, man, $4 a gallon, that's going to hurt. I mean, $3 is killing. 3 and some change.
Well, what's interesting is that, so $3 right now is hard, right?
Right.
And so there's this maneuvering that happens, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, when gas went up to $2,
right?
You know, people were like, oh, right? And now we're wishing for $2.
Right.
So, you know, that mechanism is also one that we've seen time and time and time again. And we'll continue to pay the prices. We really will. Because I don't know a whole lot of people who are willing to forsake their SUV in favor of the bus.
Right.
Or carpooling. Or hitching a ride.
Right.
You know, and so the fact that America, our wiring is such that we have to have. Right. You know, we'll pay $4.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. All right, one of the hot button issues of this particular campaign, and just of, you know, the American psyche right now, is the war in Iraq and what do we call it in Afghanistan? I don't even know what we call it.
Terrorism.
Terrorism in Afghanistan, is that what it is? Oh, okay, which leads to my next question. Because, okay, just thinking about why we went into Afghanistan, because that's where Osama bin Laden was supposed to be, right? Maybe, kinda, sorta, that's what they said. Something like that. And then Iraq, I don't know why we went there. But now we don't know where Osama is. And Saddam Hussein, we handed him over to his people and let them hang him. So why are we still in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Because war is profitable too, you know. The organizing principle of this society, in my judgment, has often been the war. And so I found it really interesting, you know, when they start naming some of the problems that the next president would have to face. One of McCain's comments, you know, that from his viewpoint, there should be a U.S. military presence in Iraq for the next 100 years.
At least 100.
Yeah. That, for me, the conversation then became not should he be president, but should he be committed? And at what, the height of ego that allows someone to say something like that? What gives us the right to preside over there? We still don't have a clear explanation as to why we went in the first place,
right,
other than our own greed, other than the fact that after some buildings tumbled, we threw up a few faces for you to fear, right? We threw up a demographic for you to hold in contempt.
Right.
And then we went over there, and the first thing we did was claim the oil fields. We weren't going over there liberating nobody. We claimed the oil fields first.
Right.
So I think our position in that country, in that area of the world, is clear. It was what Bush Sr. had been trying to do, and his son came in and cleaned up for him. It's not all that mysterious. That's what's so deep to me about the last 8 years, is that George Bush has been mob-like. He is doing everything above ground, daring somebody to pull his card. I think that's fascinating. I really do. I think it's fascinating. And we all sit here and we're out of balance and we're fearful, and we keep eating the stuff that he feeds us, you know, keep being fooled by the smoke screens. At the end of the day, it continues to be what it's always been. We're going to advance our own interests, and that always leads to money. This country, it has always led back to financial gain. For few.
Always.
For few, for the benefit of few.
Absolutely. And what I've learned about that, just the whole reason for them going into Afghanistan and Iraq, and I think it started long, even before Bush became president. It absolutely started with his father and that whole group of gangsters that Bush brought in when he got elected, the neocons, and they wanted to establish a permanent base in Iraq. 9/11 was the perfect opportunity for them to invade Afghanistan and Iraq, because before that, if we recall, Osama bin Laden used to be boys with the CIA and the U.S. government. They helped fund him when he fought the Soviets for close to 20 years. And during that time, he was fending off or fighting off the Soviets, preventing them from running a pipeline from Russia, all them Uzbekistans and all them stands up there through Afghanistan into the Caspian Sea, right? And it's funny because right afterwards, not funny, it's very deliberate, and it's wickedly deliberate, that when America goes into Afghanistan, supposedly chasing after Osama bin Laden, now, right along with their soldiers came in their contractors, and they took over running that pipeline, the same one that he was defending against or fighting against Osama. Now the U.S. ran that same pipeline through that same area, and the soldiers continue to be there because they have to secure that pipeline.
I'm just so